with your host, Andrew Romanella.
When you play Battle in Mario Kart and you don't turn off any of the items, there are bananas everywhere. I mean, it's like you're losing your balloons because you're slipping on bananas left and right. Bananas everywhere. What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to another edition of The Rome Show here on 12ouncesports.com, broadcasting live on YouTube and X. I am your host, Andrew Romanella. I got you for the next 20 minutes or so, and we have a charcuterie board of sports for you today on this Thursday, July 17th, 2025. I let you know how you can get in on the action. It's simple. 12ouncesports.com, 12OZ Sports on YouTube. Head to the comment section of the live broadcast and type in your thoughts. Follow the social media. The Rome Show 1. That's the Rome Show, then the number 1. Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok. All of the social media sites. Make sure you go follow the socials. All right, we got some ESPYs, we got some golf, some basketball, some WNBA, and some Major League Soccer. Yeah, you heard that right. A record was broken, and we want to talk about it with you. But first and foremost, I'd like to start on this Thursday with the ESPYs. Now, we're not going to spend an insane amount of time on this, okay? But I don't know who listening to this show might have watched the ESPYs last night, okay? But I did for most of it, okay? And the reason being is when I was growing up as an avid sports fan, the only award show that I really cared about, that I really wanted to watch, was the ESPYs. Middle of the summer, I'm off from school, I'm living my best life, and we celebrate sports. To me, as an avid sports fan, it was the greatest night of the year. However, things have changed, okay? First and foremost, I think the ESPY awards have taken a little bit of a change. I think it's sometimes less about the sport and more about popularity, okay? Or less about the athlete in the category, more about who's more popular, so they should win. There's a little bit of politics in there too that we're not going to go to. And finally, it's not fun anymore, okay? I remember a time when Peyton Manning hosted the ESPY Awards, okay? And it was probably the funniest, most entertaining and enjoyable host of the ESPYs I've ever seen. And it wasn't just about the fan watching at home. It wasn't just about Peyton Manning. It was about the engagement with the crowd. It was that nobody got offended by the jokes. Okay. And I think my problem with the ESPYs now is you have one of, if not the best comedian walking planet Earth right now in Shane Gillies as the person that is hosting the ESPYs. Okay. And so for me, if I have a comedian up there hosting a show, I want to watch his monologue at the beginning of the show. Well, Shane Gillies, who I understand can't write his own content when he's going to be working for Disney, ABC, and ESPN hosting a show. Okay. But Shane Gillies, I thought, was saying some funny stuff. Okay. And it was like you could hear a pin drop. To the point where more times than not, Shane had to reference, oh, I didn't write that joke, or, oh, tough crowd in here. And it's like, what are we doing? It's a bunch of stuck up, no fun looking faces staring back at the stadium or the podium. And it's like, this is supposed to be enjoyable. It's supposed to be fun. Stop taking offense to the jokes. Oh my gosh. God forbid he makes a political joke. And I think I realized the issue. Okay. I think for some reason, there are way too many athletes that don't know how to mesh and not be serious. There are way too many athletes that can't just be for lack of better terminology, a regular human being sometimes. Okay. When you're sitting there essentially listening to a stand-up comedian, you throw all things out the window. He might make some sexist jokes, okay? He might make some racial jokes. He might make jokes about himself. He might make fat jokes. He might make small people jokes. I don't know. He could go anywhere. That's comedy. That's stand-up comedians. And I was watching this last night. I'm like, this sucks. This sucks. And it should be awesome because I should be watching one of the best comedians on stage make me laugh with content based on my favorite thing to do, which is watch sports. And I don't know how many athletes that were winning ESPY awards last night are listening to the Rome show. I hope a lot. But let's take a deep breath. Let's have some fun here, people. It's supposed to be fun. And last night was my last straw. I'm good, I think. I am good on the ESPYs because even when they had the best type of person hosting, they found a way to ruin it. Another thing is, I think this is just me. So I've decided we're going to work behind the scenes here on the Romy Awards, okay? And we're going to put some hard thought into the Romy Awards because I don't want an award like the one that I saw last night, which was Best Play of the Year. And it was Saquon Barkley hurdling a dude at almost like a 360. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. That play was unbelievable. Okay? Unbelievable. But just by the nature and the definition of sport, I would think that a singular play that won somebody a championship or a singular play that won an overtime game in a really important spot or something along those lines would probably be the best play. But that's just where we are. There are other great things that go on at the ESPYs, like the Jimmy V Perseverance Award and things like that. And those are things that I would never want to change. And that's why I think it's a perfect time for the ESPYs or the sports community to figure out what they want as their sports awards show. Do you want it to be funny and engaging and the people on stage connect with the crowd? Or do you just want it to be strictly about the awards, which aren't that serious to begin with? But do you want it to just be strictly about the awards? Well, the Romies, we're going to figure that out. Some awards that you'd like to know about. Best Athlete Women's. That was Simone Biles. That's pretty cool. U.S. gymnast who won a gold medal. Well, a lot of gold medals, but bounced back this year. Best Comeback Athlete. Another United States gymnast. Suni Lee. Best Male Athlete, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Best Record-Breaking Performance, Alexander Ovechkin. If that was not the case, yeah, we'd have some real issues. Best Team, the Philadelphia Eagles. In my opinion, that should have been the Oklahoma City Thunder. Best NBA Player, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Best College Athlete, Men's Sports, Cooper Flagg. Is that true, though? What about Travis Hunter, who won the Heisman? I don't know. I could be wrong. Best College Athlete, Women's, Juju Watkins. Again, I don't think that's the case. I got to imagine that there's some other females and males out there, not just in basketball and football, that are elite college athletes. Am I crazy? I don't know. Maybe I just see this whole thing differently. Anyway, best MLB player, Shohei Ohtani. Actually, I think it might be Aaron Judge. So either way, I'm not going to go through the entire list. All I'm telling you is this has prompted me to want to create my own awards show called the Romies and do it the right way, which we will work on in the near future. Before we take a commercial break, we wanted to get Rocky in here real quick. I see him on the back end of the show here. That's exciting stuff. Rocky joining us for the next 15 minutes or so. So let's have Rocky join us for right after the commercial break. And I will save my quick PGA Tour story for after the commercial break. So we got a minute break. We'll come back, round up with Rocky here on the Rome Show. Back after this.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Now, inside the glass, hockey with Rocky.
Yeehaw, everyone. Time for a roundup.
Oh, I see what you did there. All
Let's
right,
go.
Rocky, what's going on, man?
Loving your take on the ESPYs. Couldn't agree more. I don't understand. I don't understand why everyone's so uptight. Like this is like there's like the only professional sports league playing last night was the MLS. Like
Exactly.
it's your night off.
Yeah.
Like take a breather.
Have some fun here, people. Like I was actually almost uncomfortable, Rocky, watching Shane Gillis make these great jokes and nobody laughed at them.
I love Shane Gillis, and
Great.
I thought that he crushed a couple of like really good jokes.
He did. I was dying. And a side note, before we move on from this, the other thing that like really bothers me is that they do that thing where they're like, "Oh, Rocky Romanella's in the building tonight," and then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, Alexander Ovechkin," and then it's like, "What are we doing here?"
I don't care. I don't care who you are, and even if you're in the WNBA, you should have laughed at the
Every
joke. Especially the one where he faked who the player was.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
That one's all
that
over.
was my neighbor.
Like literally, like I love seeing. Like I was just in like because I was so annoyed with the lack of actual sports content.
Yes.
That and I love the feel good stories. Like you don't not love them. I love that stuff.
Yes,
but
that's actually the reason that keeps me coming back for more. I think right now.
But like, can I get a little bit more actual sports?
Yes.
Like, how is USA versus Canada 3 fights in the first 2.5 minutes not best moment? At least a nomination.
Yeah, at least so I can remember that. Oh, that was one of the best moments of the year. That's half the nomination.
It was one of the best moments. You had people from all sports talking about it, and it's not like it was a hockey thing. You literally had Stephen A. Smith talking about it.
I agree, and that's part of my issue with how these awards are chosen, because is it about what it should be about, or is it about what's going to keep getting ESPN popularity? That's
and
what
like if you're and like comeback player of the year, that's a moment where give me 90 seconds on each athlete you chose.
Yeah.
Don't give me that's not a flash.
Yeah.
Comeback player of the year, you're talking about people with like career threatening injuries, and you're gonna like I don't get it. Like I just don't understand. Like, why aren't we celebrating the actual athletes? Then you give the athletes an outlet to actually calm down, and they don't want it. And you're just like, what's going on here? I got Scotty Scheffler giving the best press conference I've ever seen, talking about how it's really not fun to win, which is not what he's actually saying if you actually listen to it. But the fact that, like, hey, I win the Masters, then I go immediately to becoming a dad, and then I immediately have to field questions on, am I going to win the Open Championship?
Yeah.
Literally saying it's like pretty much not fulfilling because it's not like the thing. And then you've got every other athlete in the world kind of taking that and kind of spitting in his face by not enjoying that moment.
Yes, without a doubt. And being too serious for the whole opposite point of this whole thing, which is let's have some fun. Let's have some fun and celebrate how good you are.
And don't sit here and tell me after you win or after something happens, this is for the fans. And then go sit there and be so straight-faced like that in the audience. Well, it's not about the fans.
Yeah.
That's who the jokes are for.
Yeah, by the way, who's about the fans is Francisco Lindor. He rolled up on the red carpet last night with his wife, a baby stroller, and his daughter in his hand. I'm like, That's for
Well,
the fans right there. That people love that stuff. You know?
I love it. I speaking of, by the way, I wasn't able to comment on the All-Star game stuff yesterday, but I had a great All-Star game experience
Same. I
with
loved it,
Major League
man.
Baseball.
I thought they did a great job. First and foremost, Rock, I loved the return of the uniforms. I thought that was, I thought I liked the NL specific and AL specific uniforms for the game, but when it switched back this year to home run derby special uniform, regular game, the nice ass uniform, I was like, man, I cannot believe how much I actually really like this. That was the start of it for me. And then after that, action was great. The hit off was great. I thought it was a really good job by Major League Baseball.
No, I think so too. Home Run Derby was electric. Great start. One of the
Edwin
better
Diaz
ones.
blew a save.
Dude, I know.
That's so
I know.
funny.
But all the other Mets crushed.
Yeah, Peterson was good. Lonzo hit a 3-run homer. Bomb.
Yeah. And there was an inning where Lindor had all three putouts. And like, by the way, my only negative comment was like the commentators during that sequence, like were like talking about something else. Dude went in the hole and like turned and threw a one hopper to first base.
Yeah.
And they were like, put out. It was like,
and
fly
a
ball.
6-3 from Lindor.
I was like, dude, Lindor just like showcased why he was an all-star in the All-Star game.
If you don't know, Bob Uecker in Major League Baseball, the movie, has one of the greatest lines ever. And it's not even meant to be. But if you're watching the movie, the outfielder goes for a flying, like sprawling diving catch. And Bob Uecker just goes, fly ball, caught. And that's exactly what that moment felt like.
Dynamite drop in, Monty.
Dynamite broadcasting school is really paying off. All right. Do you have anything specific you want to get to when you came on the roundup today? Or are you trying to round up with my roundup?
I had to touch on the ESPYs. Like if you weren't getting me in on the ESPYs, I was going to be pissed.
All right. Just so you are aware, your screen has gone black, but we can still hear you. Oh, he's back, baby. He's back. All right. So why don't you come through my roundup with me then, Rocky, because I have a few. First and foremost, I don't know if you heard this story, but Wydham Clark has been banned from Oakmont Country Club. For those that didn't see this a few weeks ago at the was it the U.S. Open or the Open Championship? I can never remember which one's
U.S. Open, because the Open Championship is actually the British Open, but like it's like now super confusing. No one calls it the British Open anymore. I don't get it.
They just took the word British out of it. So at the U.S. Open, the United States of Opens, Wydham Clark destroyed a locker in the locker room after a very, very poor performance, not making the cut. Well, Oakmont, Rocky, has since turned around and said, you're banned. And not only that, but you can come back only if you fix the lockers, make a meaningful contribution to a charity of their choice, and go through anger counseling. It's kind of wild.
Well, if you watch, so it's funny, I would have had really no feelings about this and thought it was funny, but I did watch one episode of Full Swing about Wydham Clark, who the first thing they talked about, because I didn't really know him, was how he's battled his anger problems on the golf course, like pretty much his entire career.
Yeah.
So, there's two sides, so I guess like, not surprised now that I know that.
It's like a tough line, right? Because as an athlete, you've had moments like that, not where you've destroyed a locker or anything, but like where you get the frustration comes out. It's just when you're a professional, you're one of the top 100 in the world. And also you're in such a spotlight. There's just lines that you have to draw for yourself.
Yeah, you obviously can't vandalize, the place. By the way,
historic locker room too.
By the way, like I would argue that in every other sport there are some locker rooms that get torn apart. Considering in a lot of cases you give the visiting locker room kind of a bad spot.
Yeah, it's usually not the best locker room.
And again, another point on the ESPYs. Look at how high the media holds you to your standard. You're not even allowed to get mad about losing or playing bad. Yet you're over here at the ESPYs when we want to have fun and you're super serious. Yeah. Which one's it going to be? You're all acting like Kevin Durant on Twitter right now. I can't take it.
That's an electric point out of you. Speaking of the NBA and Kevin Durant's former team, Rocky, how about this? The Suns are paying $94 million to send Bradley Beal away so that he can go play with the Los Angeles Clippers, and he's taking an insane pay cut. It's not necessarily about Bradley Beal as much as it's about just the question of how rough do you have to be as a franchise to say, we'll waste $94 million on you playing for a team over there. That cannot be a good place to be.
Okay, so I agree with that statement, but it's weird that my brain goes immediately here, which is we're going to be a sport that fires coaches after they get to the Eastern or Western Conference Finals in the NBA. We've seen it multiple times, or even a year after they won a championship.
Yep.
But I'm not going to fire a GM who just threw away $84 million
Right.
on a player.
Makes no sense. How is that a smart business
How is
decision
that
for your
okay?
franchise?
How is that okay? You should be fired immediately for mismanaging that talent and then letting it walk out the door because you've got a culture that they don't want to be a part of.
Yeah. You know what I found out, Rock? I think that for some reason the hot seat for the coach gets there a whole lot quicker than the hot seat for the general manager. Have you ever noticed that? Like, I feel like there's so much more leeway for the
It's
front office than the coach.
it's the only way for it's the only way for the GM to save face, A, and B, like their sales cycle is a lot longer, right? It's a lot like, or it's kind of like you need 4 years to really determine your first recruiting class,
Right.
right? So the GM has a little bit of a longer runway where everyone else is just win right now for the
But
coach.
don't you feel like that part of that conversation comes down to the talent that front office puts on your roster too? Like for me, I get to go recruit my own talent, and obviously I don't have the pick of everybody, but I can choose to not let somebody come. You
There
know?
is not a coach that we learned from early on in our coaching careers that did not say at the end of the day, you got to have players on the field.
Yeah.
So you're right. Like if I don't have the players on the field, and by the way, how many like we gotta dig into championship teams and who is doing it homegrown and who is doing it like the Florida Panthers through acquisition because it seems like acquisition, trades, and utilizing prospects as trade pieces to get valuable players is actually the best way to do it. So you sit here and say, GM, we're rebuilding, but in reality, in sports, that rebuilding thing is just a ploy to say it's okay for us to suck for the next 4 years.
Yeah. Yeah. This is us telling you that we're going to be bad. Please don't get mad at us and keep buying tickets. Thank you.
I mean, think about the New York Mets. They're going to do this entire David Wright thing. They're going to celebrate him as the number one homegrown talent in the organization's history. And you're like, that's like literally a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
It is not, it's
Doesn't
almost
happen anymore.
not like it's just not like conducive to what we're doing. So I don't know. So I think I'm just confused overall at why the GM gets leeway when it comes to talent when you've got other GMs who are doing it in real time and across all four major sports. And it's just weird, like it's like what happens in those rooms? Like I would love to just like sit and listen.
No,
Like
that is a fantastic point. And it's funny. I think the reason why we are programmed like this is because the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, when free agency wasn't a thing. And no matter what, you didn't have a choice. Everybody was homegrown. I think it's hard for that change, right? And now the real change to your point is actually you don't want homegrown talent, but it's like you want to grow talent to distribute it for more talent. And you have this convoluted thought of, well, back in the day, no one left teams. And it's like, well, they couldn't. And it's like, but now everyone will leave teams. It's like, well, maybe they should. It's like there's somewhere in the middle that might make your franchise the best version of itself.
no, and unless you're in Major League Baseball where you get to keep a player for 6 years and not have to pay them, it is better to draft someone that you can use to get someone that's going to win you a championship in 2 years.
Yeah, that's a great point. All right, Rocky, I got time for one more story because I have to go recruiting at some point in the next 35 minutes. But since you're on, this is a story for you. Okay. I don't know if you saw this, but Lionel Messi, who we all knew was going to dominate the MLS when he came over, did something that no one's ever done in Major League Soccer history. He went 5 straight games, Rocky, scoring 2 or more goals. That's wild. Like, you knew he'd be good, but at 37 years old or whatever he is, for him to still be doing what he's doing, I don't care what soccer league you're doing it in, it's super impressive.
I love it. I think it's awesome, and I think it's hilarious that he has to retire from the European football leagues to play in the
Playing the
MLS,
MLS. It's wild.
and he's not good enough, right? I think he
I
is.
think he is. Yeah.
I think he is. No, I think I really like what MLS is doing. And like honestly, credit to David Beckham for
Half that thing
taking
down.
for obviously, oh, he was the first, but really he's the guy that got Messi to play for Inter Miami because he owns the team.
Yeah.
So, it's one thing, obviously, like credit to Messi for being amazing.
Right.
Yes, but credit to Beckham in this case for really really helping grow the sport in the country. Like, and quite frankly, if the U.S. doesn't show well at the World Cup next year, like what are we doing?
Yeah, well, that's a whole. Honestly, we should actually break that down next week because I talked about the Gold Cup loss last week and how it was actually kind of a positive to have our team finally back competing for a championship, finally back to beating other teams that they should beat, especially in their area of the world to get to the World Cup. But what I was going to say to you was, it's actually good on David Beckham twice, Rocky, because he is the trailblazer that made this European soccer player come to the MLS thing a real thing. And let's be real, if he doesn't do that in the LA Galaxy some 20-something years ago, we might not even have the MLS right now. That's actually a fact. And then secondly, trailblazing, to your point and saying, I made some waves. What if we got literally the greatest soccer player in the world? And he did it. And kudos to Messi too, by the way, for not just like riding off into the sunset and making that money. He actually looks like he's more engaged in the game of soccer today than he might have been in some moments 10 years ago. It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, and if you watch the Beckham 4-part documentary from like 2 years ago. They talk about his time in LA and how Landon Donovan was like, dude, this guy sucks. Like, this guy doesn't care. He doesn't care. And like, they had to have like a heart to heart. And Landon Donovan told David Beckham, he's like, dude, you got to understand, like, the MLS Cup is my English Premier League. And like he had to like give David Beckham the perspective, like, hey, it may not be as good for you, but for me, this is everything that I've ever wanted. Like, I need you to be David Beckham. And like they talked about from then on the respect factor and how David Beckham like just turned it on and they ended up winning the MLS Cup.
That's pretty
And
sick.
like to see that like you go recruit Messi, 10 years later, 15 years later, whatever it is, and Messi it's not even a thing for Messi, really, so it's not just like he did it and he's growing the game, but he's done it and he's learned and he's really helped the sport grow. And like, that's why to me, popularity in soccer in the US has never been higher. We need to go show up and play some good football. And like, we need to have great touches.
Right. Why? Cross. Hit the streaker. I can just hear
give me some really nice through balls.
Right. I need some good through balls and some good headers. All right, Rock. I'm writing that down actually for next week's topic. We'll be together next week too, so that'll be fun. I think that might be a good one because, to be honest with you, I don't even think people realize how close the World Cup is, where it sets, how you even get there. I was thinking about that the other day. Like, do people even know how you get to the World Cup? So I'm tabling that as a really good discussion for next week because I think now's a really good time to explain that to the humans.
Yeah, and if you want something to laugh at, if you're not an ESPY award athlete, then go watch the clip of Trump giving the trophy to Chelsea after they won the Club World Cup, and how he forgot to get off stage, and they were celebrating.
Oh, that's electric!
Yeah, it's really funny.
The Trump having people at the White House was in Shane Gillis' monologue yesterday. That was a really good one. That was like a really, really good one. I'll even say, he said, really good team, great team, shoots hoops, good hoops. And it's like, he's like, can we all talk about how Trump really knows nothing about
He knows nothing, literally nothing. Nothing.
Yeah,
No,
all right.
Yeah,
Rocky, I have to run here so I can keep my regular full-time job. Last thought.
Favorite joke, him and Caitlin Clark hitting threes. Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I'm serious. Like, if you're the regular person like Rocky and I, go back and watch the monologue because those
unbelievable
didn't enjoy it. I thought it was hilarious. So good on Shane Gillis. Rocky Romo, everyone. Oh, yeehaw, Rocky's Roundup. You didn't expect that one on a Thursday. You're welcome, everyone. Rocky will be back next week, and I will be back tomorrow. Actually, that's a lie. I lied to everybody. I am off tomorrow because I'll be in Long Island, but I'll be back on Monday live. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Have a fantastic weekend. Andrew Romanella saying you be electric. Peace.
Thank you for